Încep să danseze toți. עם ישראל,
If you've been injured in a car accident, don't call an attorney. Use this AI app instead.
So, welcome everyone. This was kind of, on multiple parts, kind of a surprise, but the reason that I wanted to start off with that is because of everything that's happened in Israel and then now in Gaza in response. And without getting into the politics of it, because I know there's a lot of people who are really politically charged on it. And at the end of the day, no matter where you stand, this is a huge human tragedy. And it's, just the nature of war is that it escalates and it's horrific all around. And a lot of my friends, and a lot of Jews all the world over, have decided to try and take on like a new mitzvah or like to do something and like in memory of those that have fallen, those that have been captured, and those that are at risk. And it might sound a bit silly, like it kind of did to me at first, but like on some level, it's like when there's literally nothing that you can do because you're an ocean away, and you just literally want to stop all the rockets, you want to stop all the bullets, but like you can't. There's like sometimes all you can do is pray or try to learn to gain some insight, and that's at the end of the day it can't hurt, and that's the way that I think we should all live life, trying to go through life doing the least amount of harm that we can to others and doing the most amount of good. But yeah, so welcome Graham and Kara. How have y'all been? It's been too long.
Hi. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
I've been doing okay, making a lot of music. So,
That's always good. Music is good for the body and the soul.
yeah. Okay.
So also, just for anyone who wasn't aware with what's going on, I did want to just give some context because I do feel that's important, especially given that I brought it up.
Palestinian militants from
And I also do want to specify, this is Hamas that's doing this. This isn't the Palestinian people. There are some, it's the whole rectangles and squares thing. You also have, radical Jewish settlers, but they don't represent all of Israel. They don't represent all of Jews. Half of Israel, like the part of the reason that Israel was so weak and not ready to respond to this was because half the country was divided. They were literally, like, a good amount of the country wasn't even going into reserves out of protest. Like, this is something that I think a lot of people don't realize. And especially one of the biggest like human tragedies in this whole thing, like at least in one single place, it was a rave, but it was also like a pro peace and like the whole concept of it was tearing down boundaries. And like the thing that does happen with a lot of these wars is that the people who end up getting hurt the most are generally the people who given you do have hateful people who get hurt, but at the end of the day, everybody gets hurt, and that includes people who all they want is peace. And so it's like it's one of the greatest ironies of war that it ends up it's like war begets more war because more and more of the peaceful people are killed off or they end up losing their sympathy. And that's something that I think people need to remember, that sympathy and empathy, it's something we have to constantly cultivate. It's just like a muscle. If you don't use it, you will lose it. Like, seriously. We can't ever forget that the other side is human too. And as much as it doesn't justify it, people have their reasons for doing what they do. And the more that we try and understand that, I think the closer that we can get to peace, as pipe dreamy as that sounds. But yeah.
Armed group Hamas launched a surprise coordinated attack on Israel by land, sea, and air on Saturday morning. With hundreds killed, the attack is the largest and deadliest in years and prompted an Israeli declaration of war. Here's how it unfolded. At around 6:30 a.m., the attack began with a barrage of rockets. Shortly after the first reports of rocket fire, Hamas fighters entered Israel near the Kerem Shalom crossing, an important checkpoint between Israel and Gaza. The video released
And
by
again,
Hamas
like,
shows its fighters
it would be
breaching.
a mistake to like look too much into the meaning of the names. I mean, you know, places have names, but Kerem Shalom means the vineyard of peace. Like, it's just, that's one of the really sad things. It's like, I don't know, especially in Hebrew, these names have a lot of meaning. I feel that like that's just something important to point out.
The border fence and attacking the military base there. Around the same time, Hamas fighters also raided and captured Israel's Erez border crossing station. Targeting checkpoints like these enabled Hamas to neutralize clusters of Israeli forces and spread into nearby towns with less resistance. By 7:30 a.m., Israelis began seeing groups of Palestinian militants arriving in towns and cities. The incursion fanned out into 9 towns near the border with Gaza. In the city of Sderot, Palestinian militants clashed in the streets with Israeli police and military. By late morning, Palestinian militants began destroying sections of the border barrier. What started as a small penetration of the Israeli border became a wide-open corridor. Soon, Palestinian militants began taking hostages in towns near the border with Gaza. Many hostages were taken back to Gaza and driven through the streets. By the afternoon, at least 200 Israelis were killed and more than 1,000 injured, mainly civilians. Israeli jets launched retaliatory strikes in Gaza, killing and injuring similar numbers of Palestinians. Hamas said their attacks were only the beginning of a long war.
And like one of the things that so the two people who are like majorly responsible for this was it, I think it's Mohammed Deif, and I might be wrong on the name, and then I want to say Ismail Ħaniyah, but I might be wrong on the first name. I know his last name is Ħaniyah, but one of them's in hiding and the other is in exile in Qatar, like living in like a billionaire mansion. And so like the people launching this, I mean, given Israel didn't start this, but like, you know, the people in the government, they're not as much risk as the people in the South. And actually, now I feel like I thought of this. Let me see if I can just see Israel's South, because basically, so during the, I think this was during the
Palestinian militants from the armed
during the 50s, when there was a lot of Jews expelled from Arab lands in response to the state of Israel. I mean, it's a whole thing. Again, I don't want to go into everything, but the point is that there's legitimate grievances on both sides. It's not simple to just, you know, boil it down, because what we're going to get is something that's going to take at least an hour to talk about. But basically, when there were a lot of Jews from Arab countries brought into Israel, a lot of them were settled in the south, in the Negev. Actually, here, let me pull this up. Maps. Google Maps here. One moment. Okay, shares tab. So you had a lot of Jews, especially from North Africa, who were expelled from Syria, from Iraq, from Iran. Lebanon as well. Egypt. I mean, a lot of the Arab countries. Yemen. I think actually at this point, a lot of Jews had already emigrated from Yemen. But then you also have like Ethiopia, but that was for different reasons that had more to do with the communist revolution there. But the reason I'm mentioning this, so you have a lot of Jews that were settled, a lot of like what are called Mizrahi or Eastern Jews, which is a huge misnomer. Basically, like the communities from Arab-speaking regions, they were settled primarily in Be'er-Sheva, which is like essentially the major hub of the south. I mean, you also have Eilat, but that's more of a resort town. So up here in Be'er-Sheva, you see it's only, let's see, what does it say? Okay, so it's 10 miles. So I'm going to just use my fingers. Y'all can't see, but if I take that, so about from Be'er-Sheva to Ofakim, it's about 10 miles. From there to Netivot, maybe another 10 miles. So it's about maybe 30 miles from Be'er-Sheva to Gaza. Oh, wait, I could just figure this out. Directions to Gaza. So it is... Okay, I don't need you to actually calculate directions. I just want a time. Okay, Rafa. Ugh, no, not... Sorry, I've never actually done this route, so I have no clue how it would be. Okay, Ashkelon. It's basically right at Gaza's doorstep. So it's... Shoot, I don't know the conversion from kilometers. But the point is, it's about an hour from Be'er-Sheva to Ashkelon. From Ashkelon to Gaza, that's going to be what, maybe like 15 minutes, if even that. I think it's in the 15-second zone where basically like once you hear the siren, you only have 15 seconds to get to cover. But the big point is with what happened now, I mean, like everyone's used to the to rocket fire, but what happened was unprecedented. Like the only closest comparison is really either the Yom Kippur War, which was about 50 years ago in Israel. And the only other comparisons would have to be something like Pearl Harbor or September 11th, especially if you account for the population percentage, like because Israel's a much smaller country than the U.S. But so the point is, so the communities that were targeted, Sderot, Netivot, Be'eri, Ofakim, let's see, can't find any other ones right now. I think Ashkelon was, but I'm not 100% sure. The main point I wanted to bring up, though, is that it's extremely close. Like, actually, I don't remember exactly why I wanted to bring that up in the first place, but and do y'all have any thoughts in the meantime?
When the war in Ukraine started, I started looking at maps too. That's the only analogy. I started kind of, it's a thing that where I wanted to know what is happening, to see, to participate it in a way, to try to figure it out. And so like it's something that is kind of very human, to show this is what's happening, this is the news I received, and this is what I try to understand and to learn. I try to investigate the maps, and so that's what my theory. Why would you show maps? Also to explain to people, like, look, this is the place. I found it when you said the proportion, the country is not that big, and this is a big attack.
Yeah, relative, like if you were to compare this to like the population of the U.S., it would be something like in the U.S. population percentage, it would be something like 100,000 people dead. And like it sounds like a lot, and it's because it is a lot. It would, like, you know, if this attack were to happen in say like a state in the US similar to the size of Israel, somewhere like Rhode Island, it would be devastating. And it's like I feel like a lot of people don't really get the scale of it. And it's like there's also like people they'll say like, oh, well, everybody has to serve in the military, therefore everybody's complicit. But like, again, there's plenty of people who go into the military and they go into positions so that they're not going into combat, or there's people who they'll protest against it, or they'll even talk about. I mean, like the point is, it's not a monolith. And even of the people who do go in, like there's a good amount of people who they're just doing it to protect their country. And again, I think there's an important discussion to be had, but like with what's happened, this isn't the military targets weren't their goal. This was, they wanted to, and the thing, they actually they underestimated what their capability, and because of this, now they're scared of Israel's response. And I mean, that's the thing. Like Hamas is going to get destroyed ideally, but it's going to happen at the cost of a lot of innocent lives on both sides. And it's just it's just one of those things where I actually saw a tweet, something about this. I think, I don't know about you, Kara, but I know Graham will definitely appreciate this. Actually, let me see if I can find it. But it was something about, based on genetic studies of both populations, at this point, this is basically just Canaanite mutually assisted suicide. Which, I mean, it's dark, but that's like the really dark irony of this, that you're essentially dealing with two peoples who are one, that have just been divided by ideology, by religion, and by time away from each other, that they don't recognize each other. It's like almost one of the most biblical things, like two brothers that they're at war. And I think that given, it would be just as tragic if there was no relation between the two peoples, but I think that makes it that much more painful, at least to me. I don't know. Maybe that is kind of shallow to think that it's more tragic because of that connection, but like, I don't know. Anyway.
I was going to say that kind of ties into some of my personal history, where in Ireland, the times of troubles was very much, in a lot of ways, a family spat. It's like they weren't separated by time. A lot of them were, brothers and sisters against each other. Wow. And it was divided by ideology and such. And, it's like it's like one side of my family was writing about how awful the other side of my family was, trying to blow people up. It's, and that's just how the times of the troubles was for decades in Ireland, until they finally just decided both sides blowing people up was a no-win situation. And that's kind of what needs to happen in the Middle East. And I don't know how you get to do that in there, because it seems both sides are very determined to blow people up. And I think it becomes what part of what you're saying is the NIMBY effect, the not in my backyard. And people don't see the other side as an us. It's an us versus them, and they dehumanize the opponent. And I think that's part of the problem, is they just don't see that the enemy as also a human. And I'm going to tag on those points.
Yeah. So actually what you said, I do want, I'll show it after this, because I do want to kind of sandwich in some good. I mean, it's moments like this that kind of make, I mean, we'll get to it in a second, and then after that, I'll start getting into it. Anyway, let's see.
Nearly 3,000 people attended the Tribe of Nova festival in 𝐁𝐁𝐴𝐻, Israel.
𝐁𝐁, not Rahi. I don't know why.
On Saturday. It would become one of the deadliest sites of Hamas's surprise attack on Israel. Over 250 bodies have been recovered from the festival grounds and surrounding area. Here's how the attack unfolded. The festival took place just 3 miles from the Gaza Strip. Attendees arrived by car and bus on Friday. Just before sunrise on Saturday, the all-night rave is still in full swing. At around 6:30 a.m., concertgoers notice a barrage of rockets. Soon after, the music halts.
בוא מפה שנראה אם נופל עלינו טילים. יואו, כמה פיצוצים. בוא נברח מפה.
As the rockets continue, festival organizers tell attendees to leave. Around 7 a.m., confusion turns to panic as attackers reach the festival.
בסדר, צריך לשכב ליד האוטו. לשכב ליד האוטו, זה מה שיגן עלינו.
Many attempt to escape via dirt roads that lead to a main road, but it creates bottlenecks. Drivers encounter gunfire from multiple directions.
Yo!
Many, like 𝐤�𐤓𐤀𐤐𝐿, abandon their vehicles to take cover.
ידי את קודם. ידי.
One car makes it out and drives south, but just before 7:40 a.m., they encounter a group of Hamas fighters. "20 minutes later, on the same road, more fighters are seen closer to the festival, assaulting civilians at a bomb shelter. The southern escape route is now blocked. Around 8:30 a.m., security attempts to hold off Hamas fighters approaching the festival from the north.
יורים עלינו בספר תורה, יורים עלינו. יורים עלינו, אחי. יורים עלינו. בוא לפה.
That escape route is now blocked too. Large groups make desperate attempts to flee, running across open fields. Others remain at the grounds. Hiding in dumpsters and seeking protection from security personnel. Just before 9:30 a.m., Hamas fighters can be seen hunting down anyone remaining on the grounds. Someone appearing to play dead moves. A fighter notices and executes them. Survivors the journal spoke to describe an hours-long ordeal of being hunted by Hamas militants. 𝐤�𐓚𝐴VRAHAM moves from place to place to stay alive.
I also wanted to just give some context. So 260 people have been confirmed dead. More were taken. More are missing. But 206. So the population of Israel is where is it? Population of Israel is 9.5 million. Population of the U.S. is 333 million. So I just I rounded that. So I took 333, divided that by 9. 9 goes into 333, given there's a million, but 9 goes into 333 37 times. Multiply that by 260, and that's almost 10,000 people. If this were to happen in America, one event, this would be like if this all happened at one concert. Imagine your friends are going to a Taylor Swift Eras concert. I mean, I don't even want to say. It's just like, and that's the thing. It's too horrifying to think about. But I feel like a lot of people, when it happens in a faraway country, whether that be Ukraine or whether that be Israel or whether that be Yemen or whether that be whether that be Gaza or the West Bank. I mean, the point is people are really willing to put off something horrible happening so long as they don't see it or hear it with their own two eyes. And I mean, that's one of the things I think media is really good at, is that it can bring that to our attention, but there's also the risk that people become desensitized to it. Like, and see, that's the thing. I think a lot of people, but even if something like this were to happen in the US and you don't account for the population change, 260 people at one event, that's a lot. And like at the end of the day, like, there were people of all nationalities here, like from all around the world, all religions. This wasn't just Israelis. And even if it were just Israelis, of the Israelis that were there were Arabs, I don't know about the specifics, but there were definitely Israeli Arabs and Israeli Jews there. And there's other minorities in Israel. And the thing is that, like, this doesn't, even if you were to only hurt Jews in this doesn't just hurt Jews. This hurts all Palestinians, because, I mean, it hurts global perception of, especially because of the false dichotomy people are making between Hamas and Palestinians. Like, there's just a lot of dangerous narratives that I feel like people are just spouting without even thinking twice. And that's one of the reasons why I think discussions are so important. And unfortunately, a lot of the discussions get poisoned by people who don't even have a stake in either side, that they want to get their dopamine fix by being on the popular side, whichever side they think that popular side is.
I think an important thing to add is that when they see it happening to a group that they've been basically trained and indoctrinated to not agree with or to hate. In this case, it's so easy, those people who are anti-Semitic and anti-Jewish.
Or even anti-Palestinian.
Oh, exactly. And I was thinking something, of a similar proportion here in Orlando was the Pulse nightclub incident, where you had 50 people killed there, and there was so much of the reaction, again, it was a minority, thankfully, but it was like, well, they were gay, they were out at a gay club, they kind of deserved it. And it's like, that's the attitude that leads to the problem. And you need to stamp that out. It's like, even though you don't agree with them, they're still people. Gonna tag on that.
To me, it's I did not get desensitized. I feel it more. Like, when the war touched me personally, people were telling to me that I am desensitized to their problems because I'm dealing with the war. Like, I'm dealing with the war, and I had a guy scream at me that I'm desensitized to his internal pain because he's afraid to go to the supermarket somewhere in very safe place in Europe. And so it was at the time when my grandma was hiding in a basement without electricity, because electricity, water was cut off. And she's like 83. And in the first week of war, her husband died of a heart attack because the ambulances were not coming. Like, he died in her hands, and they had to bury him in a neighbor's garden. And when I was saying that, they're like, "Oh, you just one up in our pain." Now I feel everything. Like, I hear the gunshots, and I did not participate. I mean, I did participate in a gunshot, but it was a different thing. When I hear the bullets fly, all of that, it's felt in the skin almost somehow.
It's interesting what you just said. It reminds me of, let me see if I can find it. Let's see. Yeah, here. Let me see if I can find a video on this. But wait, videos. Duh. I was looking for news. Let's see. Oh yeah, this should. Let's see. It's Facebook. Hopefully, I don't have to sign in to watch it. Oh, okay. Wait. Here. Oh no, no, it's a song. What is it? Okay, here. This 1 month ago. Wow.
We are in the midst.
This aged really strangely, and I mean, so also another thing, similarly to the Yom Kippur War, they attacked. And when I say they, Hamas, I want to specify this is not the yeah, you had Palestinians who took part in this, but like we were talking about a bit before. And again, I don't want to get really into it, but there were other international forces behind this. Like I don't know if it's been confirmed 100%, but like most likely Iran, maybe Russia. But the point is that like this was used as a way of attacking Israel and attacking Jews, but to let and part of the point was in order to provoke them into a larger war, in order to stop the normalization with other Arab countries, which ultimately would lead to less violence and less war. And so it's one of those things where I think it's really easy that people get sucked into like the tunnel vision of the drumbeat of war, but like it's like the real fight is to not at the same time. It doesn't mean that you don't strike back against the people who are responsible, but those people are they're only individuals, and then you have an entire population that is being harmed by their actions, and it's likewise with but sorry, I'm like flustered. But yeah, they attacked on not only on Shabbat, which is normally people there. If you're religious, there are certain things you don't do. But additionally, on a Yom Tov, on a holy day, it's to say holiday is really reductive. It literally a holy day, which so people were celebrating, and a lot of soldiers were home on leave. So the response was not as good as what it could have been if it was on a normal day.
Of the month of Elul,
and so now we're in. I think. Are we still in Tishrei? I forget. I need to get better at the calendar. But in any case, this was a month.
We are in the midst of the month of Elul, an entire month that we prepare for Rosh Hashanah, the time that we reestablish our relationship with Hashem and reestablish that connection. And it is interesting. What is the vehicle, the instrument to reestablish that connection? It's the blowing of the shofar, the mitzvah of the day on Rosh Hashanah, and the mitzvah, the custom that we do every single day, the entire month of Elul. All the customs have embraced. Ashkenazim, Sfardim, Taimanim. The Ashkenazim we blow at the end of the Shachrit, davening in Shul.
Ashkenazi, like
European, blows during the Slichot, Spanish, and the Taimanim at the end of the Slichot. But everyone has embraced this custom of blowing the shofar.
When was the Rosh Hashanah? On the 15th
of
September?
I couldn't tell you. It was
either 15th or 17th, something like that, I think.
Yeah, it was. Okay. It was in September. Like I want to say. Let's see. Yom Kippur was. I want to say like the 25th, so maybe the 15th or so.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I'm just guessing. My memory's getting a bit better. By the way, I'm going to I'm not promoting any one brand because it's like I just. But like frankincense. So I've been supplementing my diet with frankincense and infusing that into olive oil, and that seemed to really help with some of my memory issues as a result of long COVID. So, I mean, I'm doing a lot better, like both in body and mind. So, I mean, it's also part of the reason I haven't been streaming as much because I've been out of the house a lot more, which it's good, but it's also nice to stream every now and then. But yeah, I just wanted to say that. Speaking of memory, I forgot what I was talking about before. Wait, it was something about about the date. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but it's more than I would have normally remembered.
I found it from 15th till 17th. I will post it in the comments.
Ooh, so I was right.
Also, I have to go in 4 minutes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, either way, I'm glad that we got to talk with you about this part. Even if you didn't get here, or even if you weren't able to stay for the tech study, I think it's important, especially with how much war has affected you and your family recently.
I feel it now more. Yeah. It's what's happening in Israel at the moment is heartbreaking. All of the human stories. It's like not the flags, the people. the children.
So here, I think you'll really like this, the message of this.
Is there an ancient commentary of the sages which said that this time is such a powerful historic time of reconstitution and reconciliation, because it was then, in this month, that Moshe Rabbeinu went up on Rosh Chodesh Elul, having broken the Luchot, the tablets, and asked the kings of the golden calf, davened for the Jewish people, interceded, and aimed to reestablish our relationship with Hashem. And indeed, from Rosh Chodesh Elul until Yom Kippur, in the time of the coming out of Egypt, is when we
Also, I'm sorry, I just can't get that image out of my head. The golden calf instead of the golden calf.
received the second Luchot, the second commandment, the second commandments where our relationship was reestablished. So this entire time is a time of reestablishing relationships in the Pirkei Rabbi says, and we therefore blow the shofar every day to aspire to reconnect. Why is it that the shofar is the vehicle for preparing to reestablish our relationship? We know that it says regarding, in the Torah, it says regarding Rosh Hashanah, it says Yom Truah. It is defined as a day of the blowing of the shofar, and all opinions agree that the truah spoken about is the broken sound, what we call it the shvarim of truah, that broken sound, staccato from bolo, that is a broken up sound. And indeed, we see from a number of verses in the Torah, the word truah, teroim b'shevet barzel, it says in Psalms 2, means brokenness. Why is the idea of the blowing of the shofar the entire month, and of course the big mitzvah of Rosh Hashanah, about a broken sound? Because you see, brokenness, incompleteness, vulnerability is the essence of relationships. If you feel no vulnerability in a relationship with somebody else, if you can't be vulnerable, if you feel that you need them for nothing, if you feel that you're complete, everything is perfect, you're complete, you're whole, you're not broken in any way, so you're not incomplete in any way, then what do you need another person for? Do we really need God for anything? If we don't need God for anything, if our lives are perfect the way that they are, and everything's our own doing, and everything's just the way it is, and we feel lacking for nothing. The key about relationships, says Brené Brown in a very famous talk and books that she's written, is a sense of vulnerability. If you don't need somebody and you're not incomplete in any way, then indeed you have no real relationship. And that is the key. That is the key of Rosh Hashanah, of establishing the relationship. And that is the month of Anila, Dodiva, Dodili, the month of Elul, to reestablish our relationship with Hashem. You see, in competitions, where there's a competitive spirit, be it in sport or in business or in war, vulnerability and weakness is a tremendous weakness. Vulnerability is a weakness. You want to see where a person's incomplete and exploit the vulnerability. But it is exactly the opposite, not in realms of competition, in realms of connectedness. If you want to be connected to somebody in a relationship, you have to have vulnerability. You have to express that vulnerability. You have to feel that you need them in some level, not to be codependent. You're two independent people, where there's a relationship of dependence, of interdependence, that we complete each other in some way. That is what we're trying to establish in Elul as we lead up to Rosh Hashanah. And famously, the 𤤁𤓚𝐤𝐿𝐵 said things that only he could. He would say, the famous Hasidic Rebbe, Ein shalem yoter milei shavur. There is nothing more complete than an incomplete, vulnerable heart. And as King David has said in Psalm 51, the Psalm of Teshuvah, he said, Leiv nishbar v'nitkeh, a broken heart, Elokim lo tivzeh, God will never despise. May we all come with a sense of incompleteness and vulnerability to all relationships, and especially with Hashem, because ultimately the most complete part of our relationship with anyone is indeed a broken, incomplete heart. Shabbat Shalom.
I absolutely love that.
I really think there's something to that. It's like, it sounds so hippy dippy, but I really think it's true that the only way that, it might not resolve the whole conflict, but at least with what's going on now, like, to recognize that what happened, like, this isn't a matter of, some people think it is, but this isn't a matter of pro-Palestine or pro-Israel. This is a matter of just, the way that we treat others. Again, I don't think it justifies it, but maybe this does help. Actually, I do want to show this if you have the time just to watch this real quick, because this, I think, is really important. One of the fathers of his name is 𝐁𝐁𝐴 Argamani. His daughter was one of the hostages that was taken. Wait, why? Yeah.
I will watch it on the YouTube. Okay, I promise.
Okay.
I will leave a comment. I do have to go. I need to set up another Zoom.
Yep.
Okay.
Good to see you again, Kara. You have a great day.
Take care.
Good to see and hear you both. Bye. Bye.
Bye. So yeah, let's see. Is this? Wait, no. Here.
Transgender. It's made very, very cool through the media.
Why am I getting targeted by all of these?
Right now, and that's what's happening. Now to the biggest story in the world right now, and that's what's happening in Israel. We know that at least 900 Israelis have been killed since Hamas's surprise attack on Saturday. Many more are injured, and death toll is...
And this was from 3 days ago. The death toll's up past 1,300 on the Israeli side. I think it's at a similar number on the Palestinian side. Again, I want to clarify that a lot, like, again, it doesn't make it right, but a lot of the deaths on the Palestinian side are collateral damage. Again, it's really dehumanizing to even say collateral damage. But on the Israeli side, almost everyone, I mean, whether it's the rockets, which were just targeted at general areas, or whether it was people who were shot or killed, all the deaths on the Israeli side were like acts of terror, of terroristic violence. Like a lot of the deaths on the Palestinian side are due to Israel responding, which again, it's horrible, it's tragic, but like the two sides aren't equivocal. Not now.
Is expected to rise further. Israel has now ordered a total blockade of Gaza. The fate of the hostages Hamas has dragged back to Gaza remains a huge concern. We're talking about infants to elderly Israelis. Today we learned that at least 100 hostages are facing execution after Hamas vowed to broadcast prisoner murders. Hamas spokesman Abu Abadaya said they will start executing hostages for every civilian house that's bombed without warning. Sophie, this horror is far from over.
Rita, just all the reports that keep across all the news channels all across the world. It's just absolutely horrifying to hear that. Earlier today, I heard there could be 10,000 Australians in Israel at the moment. Obviously, immense concern for people who are there on the ground. And then I've also heard that the flights, some of the big airlines have stopped flights in and out of Israel, which is a real concern for people trying to escape. Rita, this is horrifying stuff, and everyone should be concerned by what we are witnessing unfolding at the moment.
And I think we are going to see tension there for many weeks to come. I don't think this operation is going to be quick. Now, one of the harrowing images from the attack is the abduction of Noah Agamani, who was enjoying a music festival when Hamas terrorists killed more than 250 concert goers. They raped and executed women and abducted men and women, including Noah. Sophie, I cannot imagine anything worse than knowing your loved ones are in the clutches of terrorists. We've got a statement here from Noah's father.
What can I say? All my life, since she was born, I tried to protect her and hug her and support her and love her. And here, at this difficult moment, at least cheer her up. I couldn't offer her a hand.
He couldn't protect her. I cannot think of anything more harrowing.
Are they not going to show the... I'm sorry, that's really irresponsible to not show his full statement. I'm going to see if I can find it, because it's so important. And then we're going to start with the... okay, here. Where is it? No, like, I really haven't given... I mean, like, you know, maybe it's not my issue to have, but I really have an issue that a lot of people aren't showing his full statement. Let's see. Maybe a lot of people probably don't know his name, so I'm just going to search for the girl's father. So, Noah Argamani, dad, message. Okay, here.
הצפירות והטילים שנשלחו, נכנסתי לחדר ובדקתי וראיתי שהם אינם. ואז התקשרתי, ניסיתי ליצור קשר ולא קיבלתי הודעות, לא קיבלתי תשובה. ואז קיבלתי טלפון מהשותף שלה, שרואים אותה על גבי אופנוע, חטופה לכיוון עזה, זה ריסק אותי. אבל לא אימנתי, קיוויתי שזה לא נכון. ואז ניגש אליי בחור ואמר לי, יש לי את הסרטון אם אתה רוצה שאליי. אבל לא אימנתי, קיוויתי שזה לא נכון. ואז ניגש אותי, רואים אותה על גבי אופנוע, חטופה לכיוון עזה, זה ריסק אותי. אבל לא אימנתי, קיוויתי שזה לא נכון. ואז ניגש אליי בחור ואמר לי, יש לי את הסרטון אם אתה רוצה לראות. ואז בוודאות ראיתי את נועה שלי מובנת לגבי אופנוע לכיוון עזה. לאחר מכן ראיתי את אבינתן, שמקיפים אותו 4 או 5 חבר'ה של החמאס. וזה הסרטון קורע. כמה זמן אחרי כן ראינו סרטון אחר, שהיא קצת רגועה, היא שותה כוס מים. ואני מאמין שהיא מוגנת, אני מאמין שהיא מוגנת, יש ביניהם אנשים עם לב, יש ביניהם אנשים רחמנים, אני שומע סיפורים של חלק ששחררו חטופים, תוך כדי חטיפה שחררו, ואני מאוד מקווה שבקרוב מאוד אני אראה תנועה שלי. תראי, בראש ובראשונה אנחנו בשעה מאוד קשה. בראש ובראשונה שפה נתאחד, נהיה מקשה אחת, ויחד נחשוב על הדברים שבאמת הכי טובים לנו וגם כלפיהם. גם הם סובלים, גם הם חוטפים מכות. די לעצור את כל ההרג הזה בינינו לבינם, כדי שיהיה פעם אחת ולתמיד שלום אמיתי בין שני
The
העמים.
amount of sheer strength that that must take for someone whose daughter, his wife is fighting cancer. She's his only child. Literally, if or when his wife dies, well, I mean, everybody eventually does, but the point is, besides his wife, all he has is his daughter. And for someone who's in that situation to have the strength to say what he's saying, it hurts me that there's people who would just scoff at what he's saying. It might not be the easy thing, but I feel like it is the right thing. Even if that's not base military policy off of it, at the end of the day, just for everyday people to not push their sides further into war and to call for peace, to push their, literally to fight for peace, to be warriors for peace, that's something that I feel like takes a lot more strength than just going out into a war. Protecting your people is one thing, but protecting your people while also trying to stop a war, even if that means doing something that seems like it's, oh, I need to retaliate. And the thing is, retaliate against the people who are responsible. But when you have both sides that they view each other or increasingly view each other as monoliths, it gets really dangerous. And especially with this war, I think it's only going to further polarize people.
שבאמת הכי טובים לנו וגם כלפיהם. גם הם סובלים, גם הם חוטפים מכות. די לעצור את כל ההרג הזה בינינו לבינם, כדי שיהיה פעם אחת ולתמיד שלום אמיתי בין שני העמים האלה. אמן.
What do you think about that?
Oh, no, I agree. The point is to be fighting for the right purpose. It's not necessarily to be fighting for your side.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, a lot of times the two are not in the same position.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I did want to share, I almost forgot. Shoot, what was her name? I think Rachel L. Okay, let's see. Israeli hostage food. Let's see if I can. Here.
We're at the home of an elderly Israeli couple, David and 𝐤𝐓𝐻𝐷. They were held hostage for 20 hours by Hamas gunmen, and I want to show you just the scene of devastation in here. You can see bullet holes by Hamas gunmen, and I want to show you just 𝐤𝐓𝐻𝐷. They were held hostage for 20 hours by Hamas gunmen, and I want to show you just the scene of devastation in here. You can see bullet holes all over the walls, against the stairs there, more gunfire. But this is the truly extraordinary part of this story. 𝐤𝐓𝐻𝐷, this grandmother, she actually fed the men holding her hostage. You can see some of the cans of tuna here that she fed to them. She sang to them, and the entire time she was trying to buy time for Israeli forces to gather. Now, her son is a policeman, and at some point he came to the door to conduct negotiations, and 𝐤𝐓𝐻𝐷 sent him what she realized was a secret signal. She put her hand over her face like this to signal that there were 5 gunmen inside. I want to take you upstairs, and I'll just want to warn, it is a little graphic up here. As I said, the walls riddled with bullets. There is blood on the stairs. There's more blood as you go up. And 𝐤𝐓𝐻𝐷 and her husband David were held hostage mainly up here on this upper floor. The group of gunmen were gathered here. You can actually see some of the food that she served to them. They were held over in this corner, and All the while, Israeli special forces outside were preparing to storm the building, and they did eventually come bursting in through this window. They killed at least one of the terrorists here. I don't know if you can see this, but these are family photographs. This looks like a picture of a little girl just in a pool of blood. The Israeli forces came bursting through this door, back out into the main room. The gunmen were here. David threw his body over his wife to shield her from the bullets. The police came storming in, and they were able to save this couple. They were unharmed. And this is one of these rare, rare moments of good news that Israelis are trying to draw inspiration from right now.
Didn't really touch on it that much, given, like, yes, so some of them were killed. I don't know if all of them were the hostage takers, the terrorists, but the thing that I want to point out, I don't know if they're, I could have, okay, yeah, here it is.
Imagine a car that goes as far.
Oh, I hate these videos where it has text. Wait, does actually, okay, her name's 𝐤𝐁𐓄𝐿𝐻. There, now I have the name. I remembered the first part. Let's see, 𝐤𝐁𝐓. Yeah, I think they probably misspelled it. It would be Rachel. Oh. See. What is it? Sorry, it's just I do feel like this is important because, given it doesn't justify any of this, but I do think it's important to see the human side of the other side, even if. Okay, let's see. 𝐤𝐁𝐓, hostage. Might be better than nothing if I can't find anything else. Yeah, here. Do they even talk? Oh yeah, here. In a bid to buy more time, 𝐤𝐓 began talking and joking around with her captors, telling them, "I'll teach you Hebrew and you'll teach me Arabic." Interesting. So, I mean, like, I wish I would have found a better one, but the point is there are, like, people on both sides are human. You have some real monsters, you know, on both sides, but, like, at the end of the day, it's really dangerous to forget that there are people on both sides who they're, you know, whether that's someone joining Hamas because they need money for their family. Again, it doesn't justify any atrocities that they do, but I think that it is important to realize that not everybody's simply a monster, and that a lot of, like, the monstrosity is done by organizations, and that people feel like they're justified by those organizations to do it. Anyway, it is already almost an hour and we haven't even started, so that's a good sign to start.
Yeah, I was going to say, let me tag out on that concept with it's the 10% of a group that's the monsters that basically give the bad name to the entire group and often drag them over the cliff. Tag. All
right. So, actually, this is a really good note also to give me a few seconds to just, you know, compile myself. Actually, wait, here. I have the capture, here. So it doesn't have subtitles, but it doesn't have lyrics, but I copied it, so.
רב הלילה, רב שירנו, הבוקע לשמיים. שובי שובי תורתנו, מחודשת שבעתיים. שובי שובי ונסוף, כי דרכנו אין לסוף, כי עוד נמשכת השרשרת. כי ליבנו לבך לעולם ועדיה, כי עוד נמשכת השרשרת. עוד ועוד 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 ועוד, הריקוד על יעמוד והזמר על ישקוט, הריקוד על יעמוד והזמר על ישקוט, יד אל יד, שיר אל שיר, שיר אל שיר, יד אל יד, אורה מעגליך, כי ליבנו לבך לעולם ועדיה, כי עוד נמשכת השרשרת. ניגוננו, ניגוניים, עוד עולים אל השמיים. שובי שובי אל בנייך, אל חומות ירושלים. שובי שובי ונסוף, כי דרכנו אין לסוף, כי עוד נמשכת השרשרת, נמשכת השרשרת. כי ליבנו לבך לעולם ועדיה, כי עוד נמשכת השרשרת. עוד ועוד 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 ועוד, הריקוד על יעמוד והזמר על ישקוט, הריקוד על יעמוד והזמר על ישקוט, יד אל יד, שיר אל שיר, שיר אל שיר, יד אל יד, אורה מעגליך, כי ליבנו לבך לעולם ועדיה, כי עוד נמשכת השרשרת. איי 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 איי, ay 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 ay
Ew, so yeah, it's been too long. And wrecking the lyrics, I don't know if you saw before, but when it was highlighting lyrics here. But yeah. So yeah, Rav Halayla, most of the night, Rav Shirenu, most of our songs. I don't remember everything off the top of my head, but yeah. Come back, we ordered. 7th month, come back and turn, because our path has no end, because the chain is still being pulled, because our hearts are one forever and ever, because the chain is still being pulled. More and more and more and more and more. The dance should not stop and the singer should not be silent. Hand to hand, song to song, song to song, hand to hand. Another one circle, because our hearts are one for, we will defend ourselves, we will defend you. Ascend more to the sky. Return to your creator, to the walls of Jerusalem. Yeah, it repeats itself a lot, but let's see. I feel like I was, and then there was one video that I did want to show that was about, was it this one? Yeah, here.
So again, a very, very fascinating question. The Torah gives us the story of creation at the beginning of Genesis. And the question is, how literal is that intended to be? The truth of the matter is, I have to be honest, certainly most commentaries and most rabbinical literature does assume that it's a very literal story. However, there are views within our sages, which are authoritative views, that underscore the fact that the story of creation, certainly until you come to the flood, until you come to Abraham, which is later, contains so many deep secrets that cannot be fully understood, that to some degree, it is possible that the Torah might be speaking in metaphorical or allegorical terms. So, for example, in terms of how long are the 6 days, there may be some discussion about that. Again, many commentaries do say the 6 days were 24 hours, but some say that perhaps there may be a broader interpretation. I do want to point out one general idea that I think is very helpful, both in terms of, I want to say that perhaps there may be a broader interpretation. I do want to point out one general idea that I think is very helpful, both in terms of understanding the Genesis narrative and understanding the whole Torah. You will often find that people will pose a certain question. Is the Torah speaking historically, or is the Torah speaking metaphorically? As if to say, these are two mutually exclusive alternatives, metaphor or history. And in truth, that may very well be a false dichotomy, because even when the Torah is speaking in a literal historical mode, ultimately, it is explaining and expressing metaphors for spiritual archetypes. So, for example, as a believing Jew, I certainly believe that Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov were literal people who are the founders of the Jewish people. I certainly believe that we were slaves in Egypt and God took us out of Egypt. At the same time, we also underscore that the Avot and the Imahot are prototypes of spiritual forces. Avram represents the divine midah of chesed, loving kindness, and Yitzchak represents gevura, inner strength, and Yaakov is tiferet, beauty, and Yetziat Mitzrayim is a prototype for the slavery and the bondage of the neshama in all of the spiritual temptations of the world. So consequently, the notion that history and metaphor are mutually exclusive is simply a false dichotomy, because the history itself is metaphorical for higher and deeper spiritual truths. So if the question becomes, is the story of Beraishit, is the story of Adam and Eve, is the story of the tree of knowledge and the story of the snake, are they metaphors for deeper realities regarding temptation? The answer is most certainly yes, but that does not at all negate their literal meaning as well. The Torah, in effect, uses history as metaphor for deeper spiritual principles that permeate the deep structure of the universe.
Click subscribe to see more exclusive content for the most sought-after Jewish speakers,
I know
teachers,
you probably
and
got some
thinkers.
thoughts on that.
Most people have no clue that in 2020.
Well, I'm happy to move from genocide to Genesis. Yeah, that's a nice.
Oh, that would have been a good title, except I feel like that might have been a bit too on the nose.
It's good as a throwaway.
You've got to have humor.
Yeah, it's one of those where I've settled on is anybody who starts talking about a single interpretation is kind of gone off on a limb and cut it off behind them. It's like there's multiple interpretations on multiple layers for basically all parts of the Bible. And, that it's a matter of just unpacking all of them. And sometimes, unfortunately, one level can kind of contradict with another. And it's just what you have to deal with. I don't know if that resonates with you at all. That's what I'm settled on. Tag.
Definitely, yeah. So here, I thought we could watch this video. Give me one more chance, and then what is it? Yeah, because this is really interesting. I also think it's interesting to watch this a bit before we actually, start reading.
There is a curious anomaly. That is, there is a curious not fitting together of ideas in the opening chapter of the book of Genesis. What did God create on the first day? Everybody knows that. God created light. Not as many people know the answer to on what day of the creation sequence God created the sun, the moon, the stars, and the heavenly luminaries. The correct answer is day 4. That's the anomaly. You don't have to be a Talmud Chacham. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. You don't have to be a brain surgeon to see that there's a problem there. How could God make light on day 1, but not make any of the sources of light until the 4th day? The answer given by our tradition is that the light that God created on day 1, when God said, "Let there be light," wasn't optical light. The reason it wasn't optical light was that there was no source for the light yet created. The light that God made on day 1 was, as a matter of fact, consciousness or awareness. Even to this day, when we want to depict a cartoon character getting a bright idea, we draw a light bulb over his or her head. What God made when God began creation then was awareness. If you don't believe me, all you have to do is look at a newborn infant lying there in the dark oblivion of unconsciousness. The little soul slowly opens unfocused eyes and looks around at a universe. And then, after that moment of light and consciousness, sinks back into unconsciousness again. The Midrash, and after it, the Zohar, take this image even further. They say that the light that God created on day 1 was so bright that in it Adam and Eve were able to gaze from one end of creation to the other. Adam and
It
Eve
almost
could
sounds like
see
quantum
you and
mechanics.
I right now. Go ahead, wave to Adam. Hi, Adam, how are you? But then God had a problem, because when God realized that Adam was unable to follow one simple mitzvah, don't eat the fruit, God realized that God would take that light of ultimate awareness in which Adam lived and would destroy creation. On the other hand, if God simply took away the possibility of ultimate awareness, creation couldn't exist either. So the Midrash and then the Zohar say that God solved the problem this way. God had to leave the light in the world, and God did it by hiding the light in gross matter. God hid the light in the trees and in the rocks and in the mountains and in the streams and in people. Like Yoda says in Star Wars, beings of pure light are we. And as the Psalm says, Or Zarua Latzadik, light is hidden away for the righteous ones. And when you act like a good man or a good woman, then a little bit of that ancient hidden light of consciousness and awareness makes its way back into the universe.
So yeah, what do you think about that?
Well, yeah, no, I definitely agree with them. And, picking up on your comment, yeah, part of it has one interpretation you can take to the quantum level. I find another one on awareness. This is what she was talking about. There's also a math one. There's all sorts of, there's a consciousness one. It's like the emergence of consciousness from beginning to end. Again, it's always fun to try to tease out yet another layer of interpretation. Tag.
Yeah. I'm just, what was it I was looking to pull up? I just want to make sure that I have. Oh, okay, perfect. So I have that. Oh, right, that's what it was. Prayer for starting the Torah. Maybe restarting. Because I know there's something you're supposed to say. No, not before. Yeah, I don't know what I'm thinking about. I'm just going to look it up to see if I am right about that. But let's see. So yeah, let's see, translations. Let's see this one. When, depending on how they translate the first verse that's going to probably, okay, let's see. Let's see, what's this one? Yeah, maybe the yeah, this one looks good. Okay. Let me just look on my phone real quick to see if there is a prayer for that. But let's see. Is there a prayer for restarting the Torah? Oh, okay. No, that's why I was thinking of that. You say it during Simchat Torah, so I don't have to do anything for that. Okay, so yeah, off the top of your head, I don't know. It's kind of interesting how some of the names of the books of the Bible. So you have Genesis and Berashit. So it's like Berashit literally is like in the beginning, or yeah, that's the best, in the beginning. Whereas Genesis is like creation. So I mean, I get the connection there, but like not really. Then you have Exodus, and then in Hebrew it's Shemot, which means names. So it's definitely not there. And then I forget. I don't remember what. Oh wait, yeah. Let's see. Numbers, I think, is Varim, so it's like things. Anyway. So, but there is a prayer for. I just want to make sure. Let's see. What is it? Let's see. Prayer for reading Torah. Okay, here I found it. All right. Baruchu et Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Olam Vaed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch Ata Adonai noten haTorah. Okay, and then where did I put it? Here. This is my yod from my bar mitzvah. I mean, y'all can't see where I'm pointing at, but I mean, dang it. I'm going to have it in the same place as my mouse. So, okay. So to start off. So, I'm not even going to use this. It's too much work. I'll just use the mouse. Okay, so Berashit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. So that would be like in the beginning of the creation of God's creation of the heavens and earth. Or more accurately, it would be when God began to create. Actually, yes, I'm going to find the one that's the best translation for that. It's more accurate with how I'm translating it. Yeah, okay, this is good. The haaretz hayta tohu va. Here, I'll highlight as I go. The haaretz hayta tohu vabohu. V'choshech al pnei v'choshech al pnei tehom. Veruach Elohim merachefet al pnei hamayim. So, so it has a ve because it's moving on for the next part. So it's not, you don't literally say and the earth, but I mean it's contextual. The earth was tohu. That would be chaotic. Oh, one second. What is it? The aretz hayta tohu. The earth was chaotic. Wait, no, it would be actually, I need to look at what. Okay, yeah, it's formless. Confusion, unreality. It was like empty or void, or formless. Vabohu, and chaotic. V'choshech, and darkness. Al pnei tehom, and darkness was over the face of the deep. Veruach Elohim, and the spirit or the wind of God. Most traditions would understand that as being like the Holy Spirit, which is actually a Jewish concept, and Christianity took it from there. Like in Judaism, it's the Shekhinah, the feminine part of God. But V'ruach Elohim merachefet, it hovered al pnei hamayim, over the face of the waters. Vayomer Elohim, and God said, Yehi or. God said, let there be light, and there was light. And so it's interesting because one of the also stop me anywhere if you want to say any comments, but one of the things that's interesting here is the reason why, one of the mystical traditions, why God says it and then it happens, rather than just saying, and God willed there to be light, is because God is commanding it, or HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like the Holy One, blessed be He, is commanding it, and the one enacting it, even though they are one, but it's almost like the personality. You could almost think of it, you have a right and a left hand. In this case, it's almost like your mouth or your mind is thinking it and your body is doing it. So there's not necessarily this idea of like, it's almost like a duality within the singularity, if that makes any sense. And so the one that's responsible for everything that's being done, basically all of creation, is actually the Ruach Elohim, and the one who's designing it or who's commanding it, who's willing it, is Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's like it's really interesting. Some people would view this as being like two different, but I mean, I think that you have to look at it within a certain context and also see the whole idea of a hieros gamos, almost like this idea of two becoming one. But let's see. So Vayireh Elohim et haor, and God saw the light. Or I'm going to not use that because it's too reductionist. Elohim.
Oh, one thing I wanted to chime in there was another interpretation of that that's been attributed over the years is the idea of the speaking is a vibration, and things are based off of vibrations. Just
what do you mean?
Oh, the idea that the act of speaking, it's creating sound, and sound's vibration. And it goes to the occult idea that, everything is vibration, some of the Hermetic principles.
Oh.
Tag.
Cool. Let's see, so where are we? So and Elohim saw the et haor, saw the light, kitov, that it was good, vayavdel, and he and Elohim separate, Vayivdel Elohim, and Elohim separated bein haor ubein hachoshech, separated between the light and the darkness. So what's interesting is that, okay, this is interesting. So darkness, choshech, pre-exists or. He only says, let there be light, and then after he says, let there be light, he separate. Again, I'm actually going to use they because in this case, I think that you could actually view it as almost like it's referring to both HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like essentially the masculine part of God, as well as the Shekhinah, the feminine part of God. And so that, I mean, there's also the whole, I think you probably remember this, the whole thing of how Elohim is like me, Ma, and Ela. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. I would say in this point, it's the question of whether it's the Shekinah or Elohim is irrelevant because they're not differentiated yet.
Yeah.
And part of this I see is, basically differentiation is part of the process of creation. And that's the reason why when there became light, then the darkness also came into being. It's like they both came out of the primordial ether, Tao, source, infinity, whatever you want to call it.
Oh,
wait,
yeah.
And it's only with differentiation. As soon as you can't, sort of like with good and evil, you can't have good unless you also have evil. You have to have both sides of the dichotomy if you're going to have one. Tag.
So that's actually interesting. I wonder if it parallels how you have the creation of like male and female, and then you have the creation of man, who is then split into male and female. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, very well could have some parallels. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
So let's see, where are we? So let's see, and Elohim saw the light, that it was good. Vayivdel, and Elohim separate. Vayavdel Elohim bein. Elohim separated between the light and the darkness. Vayikra Elohim laor yom, velachoshech kara laila. So and Elohim like called, or in this context, like called or literally named to the light, he gave the name day, and to the darkness, again, they gave the name, and to the darkness they gave the name night. Vayehi Erev, and there was Erev, like evening, Vayehi Boker, and there was morning, Yom Echad, the first day. Vayomer Elohim Yehi Rakia B'toch hamayim vayehi mavdil bein mayim lamayim. So and Elohim said, "Let there be a rakia, I mean, the best translation is firmament. I mean, the flat earthers have ruined this term, but basically, it's from the root rakah, which means like beaten out, as like a shield. I think extended surface, solid expanse. Does it? Yeah, expanse as if beaten out, like a shield. Where is it? The vault of heaven or firmament, a solid base supports. Yeah, expanse as if beaten out. So it's literally referring to a shield. They viewed it as though the dome of the earth is like a shield that's beaten out over a rock or something to form the shape. So God said, "Let there be a firmament," literally from the root firm, b'toch hamayim, in the midst of the waters, vayehi mavdil, and let there be a difference or a differentiation, a separation, bein mayim lamayim, between waters and waters. Vaya'as Elohim et harakia vayavdel bein hamayim asher mitachat larakia bein hamayim asher me'al larakia vayehiken. Vaya'as Elohim. And God, and Elohim made the rakia, the firmament, vayivdel bein hamayim, made it to be, I think. No. Oh, and it's separated, but you could also translate it. I mean, it would be like a contextual translation, but basically, literally, and it separated bein hamayim, between the waters, asher mitachat larakia, that were in the or below the firmament, ubein, and from, or and between, basically separated one from the other, between hamayim asher me'al, the water that was upon or over larakia vayikan, and so it was. Vayikra Elohim larakia shamayim vayihi erev vayihi boker yom sheni. So he called. Hashem called to the rakia. So he called the firmament heavens, shamayim, vayihi erev, and there was evening, vayihi boker, and there was morning, yom sheni. Okay, so this is interesting. Before, I thought here was saying, he's talking about darkness and light, and night and day, and then talking about and then there's a morning of vayihi. Yeah, Vayhi Erev, Vayhi Boker. There was the evening and there was night. I thought it was, part of that, but no, it's literally using this in order to say that time is passing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and one of the ways that I found to equate this more with a scientific interpretation is the "let there be light" was when the initial basically electrons and protons separated, and you allowed photons to exist, which was about 100,000 years or so after the Big Bang. And this was sort of like all of a sudden the universe became, it had been opaque, it became transparent, and then there was light going back and forth. And there are similar parallels in the cosmological evolution of science has with what's written in here, if you parse it out right. Tag.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, a lot of So yeah, I actually didn't. I feel like I probably knew this, but I didn't really connect two and two. So, do you know who one of the students of Erwin Schrödinger was? Well, I mean, he did a lot, but
he had a bunch, but who in particular?
The seventh Chabad Rebbe, Menachem Mendel Schneerson, like the really famous one.
Oh, interesting. Did not know that. Dang.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of the more that I've studied. So I mean, given I don't have really, I don't have a hard science background, but whenever I hear people who do legitimately do talk about stuff like, I mean, really, anytime you're getting to something that has to do with mathematics or quantum theory, there's a lot of overlapping with various religions. I think that's also a reason why people tend to rely on that in cases where it's maybe not even the right thing to bring up. But that being said, I think there is a lot of real overlap if people look at it in the proper context as opposed to just using it for bells and whistles, if that makes any sense. And I feel like you're someone who you and Baron, as much as I don't understand everything you guys say, I feel like you guys are actually trying to come up with something that's consistent, as opposed to the people who are just scribbling something in their basement wall. But let's see, where were we? But no, I think that's also one of the interesting things, because even in cases like that, it might not make sense outside of a certain context, but if it does have an internal logic, it has a value, even if people don't understand it. Anyway, where was I? Oh, right. So we're talking about, okay. So, so we called it, okay, here. So we're on the second day. Vayomer Elohim, what's this? Yakvu? Yeah. No, Yikavu Hamayim Mitachat Hashamayim El Makom Echad V'tirei Hayabasha Vayihiken. So, and Elohim said, Vayikvu, what's this? I'm not looking down. I'm just going to see what it says when okay, Vayikvu. The Kava, same root as Tikva, which is hope. Means to you have hope, so you wait around. To wait for, look for, hope, expect. So, and he caused the, collected together. So Elohim collected together the waters from below the heavens to the place, echad, to one place, that and he beheld, so that may appear, Hayabasha, the dry land may appear, and it was so. Vayikra Elohim layabasha, and Hashem called, Elohim called to the dry land, Hayabasha, Aretz, earth, ule mikveh, and to the collection of the waters, Kara Yamim, called the seas. Vayireh Elohim ki tov, and Elohim saw that it was good. So it's also interesting here because you can see first you have the creation of the heavens, or Shamayim, or Oranos. Then you have the creation, or the collection of the earth. And what's interesting is once you have the heavens and the earth, the masculine and the feminine, then you have the seas, which it's interesting because the seas have been personified. Like you have Yam, which is male, but you also have the whole idea of Bat Yam, which, I mean, literally the daughter of the sea, or mermaids. But I mean, you also have stuff like Astarte, who or Aphrodite, who was born from the sea. So she was basically born in the sea, but fell from heaven. You have a lot of really interesting and similar motifs there. But so first you have the heavens, then you have the earth, then you have the sea. And in some ways, the sea is almost it's like the earthly sea as opposed to the cosmic sea, which is like the heavens.
Well, it's also you look at it as the waters. And the waters are basically like the intermediate ground between the air and the earth, because you have the waters falling from the sky with the connection to heaven there. And it's also, you can look at it from a certain Hegelian standpoint. If you look at it as a dichotomy of heaven on one side, earth on the other, and you can kind of see as water as sort of like that's both the synthesis and in a lot of ways, and if you look at it more primordial, the water's underneath, the source of the two.
Interesting. Yeah. Here it also says, and it is possible that there is no gap between the waters that were gathered and the waters of the depths, and it is about the portion that has no earth covering it, and they, of blessed memory, say that, I think they of blessed, no, I don't know if that's what I was saying. Anyway, that God said to the land enough that it should not extend from one end of the earth to the other end, and the waters remain connected to the lower waters. Interesting. So it's almost like they viewed so the lower waters are the seas and the upper waters are the heavens, I'm guessing. Either that or it could be referring to the skies and like the space, but I'm not sure. There's like, or it could just be a fractal, like there's above and below, and then there's like the one above and below are both above, and then below is the earth.
Yeah, no, all of those are legitimate. Another one that I find in play a lot of times here is the idea of the waters above and below being more of a spiritual waters as opposed to physical waters. Tag.
I think that's also a really important thing, because this idea of the Mayim Rabim, the great waters, it's a motif that gets pulled on a lot. Okay, so let's move on. If you can. Vayikra Elohim le'yabasha. Oh no, I already read that. Vayomer Elohim tadshe. Wait, is it? Oh yeah, tadshe haaretz. And Elohim said, tadshe was the like sprout with grass. No, to sprout, shoot, or grow green. So may the earth like sprout forth with deshe, grass, or grass, new grass, green, herb, vegetation, young, esev. Oh, that's herb. So with green or fresh, with green herbs, I don't know, vegetation, Mazria, bearing seed, Mazria Zera, seed bearing seed, or like seed bearing plant. Wait, Zera, that to sow, scatter seeds, like seed. I do not know how you would translate this, because it's like seed-bearing seeds almost, but no, it's like, I mean, I guess you could view it as like fruit.
That's exactly how Tabor translated it. I love Tabor's translation of Genesis.
Wait, are you serious? I translated it the same way as he did.
Yeah. Yes. No, where it's the crawling crawlers. It's like it's he refers to it as a transparent translation, where he's basically trying to take the concepts, the writing style from Hebrew, and put it as much as possible into English for the people to understand. Yeah, like the flying flyers.
Yeah. Maybe it's almost like maybe a better translation would be the seed-bearing sowers. Like, because if you think about it, plants don't need people to sow the seeds. They usually have natural means of doing so in order to survive, whether it's through plants or whether it's just through gravity or whether it's through the wind. So I think within that context, it's basically something which sows itself, but it has a seed contained within, as opposed to something which simply sows itself and, doesn't have a seed contained within. I don't know. But let's see. Etz Pri. Wait, okay. It's okay, yeah. So here you have the green herbs that have Sprout vegetate. So basically seed-bearing vegetative plants. I mean, it's not as poetic, but anyway, etz pri, ose pri, lemino, trees or fruit trees that make fruit according to its kind or for its kind. What's interesting here is there's a Kabbalistic tradition that I heard. I was listening to it with a friend. Apparently, there's a belief that originally in the creation that it wasn't trees that bore fruit. Because so here it says eitz pri, ose pri, that make fruit. But apparently originally it was trees of fruit. So basically, imagine a tree that you could eat the bark. And so that's apparently the tradition, the reason why for during Sukkot that Jews use the etrog or the citron fruit, which smells a lot like a lemon, but it's honestly so much better, at least in smell. That apparently its bark was used in cosmetic and like consumable purposes, so that because of that it was considered a fruit tree as opposed to a tree bearing fruit. But in any case, that's just a little bit of fun trivia. So bears fruit according to its kind. Asherah zaro bo, that has seed in it or contained within it. Al haaretz vayhi ken, basically let them be upon the earth, and it was so. V'totzeh haaretz deshe esev mazria zera leminehu, and there went out, or the earth brought forth deshe, vegetation, esev, herbs, mazria zera, seed-bearing seedings, or sowing sowers, leminehu, according to their kind, ve'etz ose peri, and trees that bore fruit. So see here, before it said etz pri, now it says etz ose pri. So the understanding is that originally it was fruit trees, now it's fruit-bearing trees, or trees that make fruit. Asher zaru bo, that have the seed contained within it, leminehu, according to its kind, vayirei Elohim kitov, and Elohim saw that it was good. Vayhi erev, and then there was an evening, it was good. Vayhi boker, and there was a morning, it was good. Yom shlishi, the third day. Vayomer Elohim, and God saw Yehi meorot, God said, not saw. God said, let there be meorot, luminaries, like things that light emit from, berakia, in the heavens. Because remember, rakia was called shamayim, so rakia is shamayim. So called the heavens or the firmament. Heaven sounds better than firmament, I'm not going to lie. Wait, berakia hashamayim. Oh, the expanse of the heavens. Or is it berakia shamayim? Like it's almost like a compound name. You see what I'm saying? Like Amun Ra, rakia shamayim. I don't know. That's my personal headcanon. Anyway, berakia hashamayim, in the firmament of the heavens. He said, let there be luminaries. Lehavdil bein hayom uvein halayla, to separate between the day and between the night. Vayehu leotot, and to be for signs, ule moadim, and for appointments or like appointed times, uleyamim, and for days, veshanim, and for the years. V'hayu lemeorot berakia, and there was luminaries in the heavens of the in the firmament of the heavens, berakia shamayim, lehair, to shine, or to give light, al haaretz, upon the earth, vayhi ken, and it was so. Vaya'as Elohim, and God made, Elohim made, et shnei hameorot, two luminaries, hagdolot, two great luminaries, et hameor, hagadol, the great light, or the greater light, lememshelet, to rule or to govern, hayom, the day, the et hameor hakatan, and the small luminary, or the small luminary, lememshelet, to rule or govern, halayla, the night, the et hakochavim, and the stars. Vayiten otam, and Elohim gave to them. Vayiten otam Elohim, and Elohim gave to them, like I said, birakia hashamayim, in the firmament of the heavens, leha'ir, to shine light, al ha'aretz, upon the earth. Oh, not he gave them. He set them, or he gave them to the barakia hashamayim. So notice here, all of these things, like they're all dependent on Elohim in this context. You don't have the luminaries dependent on the rakia. The rakia and the luminaries are both dependent on Elohim to exist. So that's a big theological change from their neighbors, which would have been like the Canaanites. And I mean, I personally believe that they were the same peoples with just different beliefs. I mean, honestly, I bet if you traced it back, you could probably find some interesting parallels between rabbinic thought and Phoenician thought at a certain point. But anyway, you get back onto track. Velim shol bayom uvalayla ulehavdil bein haor uvein hachoshech vayireh Elohim kitov. So and to rule the day and the night, and to separate between the light and between the dark. And Elohim saw that it was good. Vayihi erev, and there was a night, or there was an evening, Vayihi boker, and then there was a morning, Yom Revi, the fourth day. Vayomer Elohim, and Elohim said, Yishretzu, Sharatz. Oh yes, the swarms. And Elohim said, Yishratzu hamayim, may the Yishratzu hamayim sharetz nefesh, may the waters, or may the waters swarm forth with swarming life, teeming or swarming life, sheretz nefesh, chaya, like living swarming creatures, ve'of ye'ofef, and like you're saying, flying creatures that fly al haaretz, yofef, that fly al haaretz al pnei rakia hashamayim. Let's see, above the earth, al pnei, upon the face of the firmament of the heavens. Vayivra Elohim, and Elohim created et ha-taninim, the dragons, or the great sea monsters, like that's how it translates, but literally dragons or serpents, sea dragons. Hagdolim, the great sea dragons. The et kol nefesh hachaya, and all living light, and all like living beings. Ha romeset, that crawl or creep. Asher shartzu, and that swarm hamayim, the waters. Leminahem, according to their kind. The et kol uf, and all birds or all flying things. Kanaf, that all winged flying things. Leminehu, according to its kind. Vayireh Elohim kitov, and Elohim saw that it was good. Vayivrech otam Elohim laomer, and God blessed them, and Elohim blessed them and said, Pru uruvu, be fruitful and multiply, v'milu et hamayim, and fill the waters, bayamim. Wait, what? Wait, Et hamayim bayamim. Oh, beyamim. Fill the waters in the seas. V'ha'of yarev ba'aretz. And the flying things increase upon the earth. Vayhi erev, vayhi boker yom chamishi. And there was an evening and there was a morning, the fifth day. Vayomer Elohim totzei haaretz. And God said, and Elohim said, let the earth bring forth nefesh chaya, living beings, lemina, lemina, for, that's interesting because mina would be for her kind. It's almost like saying according to the earth. This is interesting. It might actually be paralleling the idea that Adam was created from the earth. You see what I'm saying? Because it's saying, let the earth, totzei aretz, let the earth bring forth living beings, lemina, instead of leminehu, according to its kind, it's according to her kind, the earth's.
Yeah, no, that'd be a understandable interpretation. The idea of the earth, the earth and the world, Gaia, nature being female. Definitely.
Let's see. This is interesting. Here, this commentary says, let the earth bring forth. The expression totzei seems to imply that these creatures already existed and just needed to sprout forth from the ground. I want to see if there's anything about this. Living soul, according to its species. At the time of its pronouncement, the command was that a living soul should come out that has several types that grow like it, like a lion that has several types. Interesting. Beast of the earth. Animals that are in the wilderness where there are no human. Interesting. I'm going to have to ask someone who knows a bit more about that to see if they have any understanding of it. Okay. Haaretz nefesh chaya lemina. Behema, according to its kind. Behema v'remes, the beast of the field and the creeping, v'chayehu aretz, and the beasts of the animals of the land, lemina, for their kind, or for its kind, vayihiken, and it was so. Vayas Elohim et chayat haaretz lemina et habehama lemina ve'et kol remes ha'adama leminehu vayira Elohim kitov. So basically, just repeating the same thing, that God made chayat haaretz, the beasts of the land, or the animals of the land, lemina, for every kind. Wait, what? Of every kind? I don't know where it's getting that from, but like for its kind. Ve'et habehama, the beasts of the field, or the cattle, literally. Lemina, for its kind. Ve'et kol remes, and all the creeping things of the earth. Leminehu, for its kind. Vayireh, and God saw that was good. Vayomer Elohim naaseh Adam b'tselem menu. So because here it's very clear God's speaking in the plural. So Elohim saw, and Elohim said, let us make man in our image, or in our likeness, b'tselmenu, in our semblance, kidmotenu, like our blood, or after our likeness. It's like kedamut, like our likeness, similitude. So basically, we will make man in our image, like our likeness, or maybe like, I don't know. Maybe you could argue for something cut out. So like we will maybe it's almost like we will make man in our form, like ourselves, or in our likeness. Vayiradu bidgat hayam. And he yarad, he descended, or caused to descend, or no yarad. What is this? It's saying a rule. To rule, have dominion. Rada. Oh, that's what it is. And they will have dominance, or they will rule bidagat hayam, the over the fish of the sea, ube of hashamayim, and the birds of the heavens, or the flying things of the heavens, ube hama bekol haaretz, and the cattle in all the land, ube kol haremes, haromes, and all the creepy crawlies, literally. Al haaretz, upon the face of the earth, or that creep on earth. Vayivra Elohim, and God created et ha'adam, created the Adam, the mankind, or the man, the human, bitzelmo, bitzelmo, bitzelem Elohim, in its image, in the image of Elohim. Bara oto, created then, created it. This is where it's interesting. Created it, or some people translate it as created him. This is what's interesting. You get these ideas of the holy androgyne. So created him, or it, zachar unekeva. So Elohim created Adam, male and female. Bara otam, Elohim created them, or created that. Elohim created. I don't know. It's there's a lot of interpretations. Vayivrech otam Elohim vayomer lahem, and Elohim blessed them and said to them, and Elohim said to them, Pru uruvu, be fruitful and multiply, umilu et haaretz, and basically multiply and fill the earth. Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. Vikivshuha urdu bigdat hayam be'of hashamayim ubekol chaya haromeset al haaretz. And he said to them, so that, and kaveset, and master it, and you will rule over the fish of the sea, the flying things of the heavens, and all the life that creeps upon the earth, or that crawls upon the earth. Vayomer Elohim. It's also interesting. It almost seems like God is using creeping or crawling to refer to all like land animals, almost like oh, God is so great that anything that walks is basically just crawling. You know what I mean? It's almost like, oh, are you there?
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Yeah.
I was going to say I had a couple of comments saved up there.
Oh yeah.
What? Mm-hmm. Did you want me to go now, or you want to finish off?
Sure. Yeah. You go now.
Yeah, no, I was going to say earlier on, it was one of the ones, if you're going from a Big Bang with the let there be light sort of concept creation, it makes sense that you would have the Earth as soul is a second generation star. That's why we have things like gold and the heavier elements here, is because we're the remnants of another star going supernova. So it would make sense that there would be things that were happening and written in Genesis before that. Whereas the idea of there'd be light and all that before there was a sun and a moon makes sense if you're going from more of a Big Bang, interpretation. One of them is, I wonder on the concept of fruit, if like frankincense, and would that in a sense be considered a fruit of the tree, because it's the congealed and dried sap?
But no, it would be a sap. Like the sap is more like the lifeblood of the tree.
Okay. Well, that's why I was wondering. I just didn't know where that really fit into that definition there. And the last one is when they use the term image, I keep wondering if I've always wondered if that has a lot of parallels with imago, the philosophical concept, with the idea that basically, mankind is like a photograph of God.
Yep, exact same thing.
Okay. Yep. Just checking on that one. That imago is more of a Latin.
Yeah.
So,
in imagio Dei.
Exactly.
In fact, I don't know. Are you aware of any like Roman parallels? I've only ever heard that in a Christian context.
Well, a lot of that's like almost Neoplatonist, so it like would have
Fair.
gotten, imported that way if no other way.
Yeah. Basically the Greek Neoplatonists that ended up in what was it, Crotone or whatever, in the was it Pythagorean school in, was it Syracuse, or it was in, I know it was in southern Italy, and then eventually Magna Graecia became Italy, and then eventually Italy became, or rather became, reductionist. But yeah, it's interesting. So Rat King said, "This is some of the most powerful and poetic words ever written." I think he is saying he is earthborn. What is the Hebrew meaning of this? Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to ask someone today. Mr. Blazing Up 420 said, "To where it is known as the Great One, she was seen as Draco." Interesting, because she was also seen as like the lady of the hip, or as like she was connected with hippos. Rat King said, was this Giganese in Greek are giants. Oh, Giganes, and it means earthborn. Interesting. Oh yeah, like Genes, like born from the earth. Interesting. Can you explain why it's so open to interpretation? I mean, a lot of it has to do with the fact that like Hebrew isn't as, and so I mean, I'm going to reference someone without going into specifics, but we all know someone who likes to shit on Hebrew because it's a very, it's not a very concrete language. It's very what's the word? Very abstract, as opposed to something like Greek, which has a lot more concrete meanings. You have words for everything. And so you don't have to rely on context as much. I mean, you do have to rely on context, of course, but it's more so relying on the words because the word provides a lot of context. It's kind of similar to English in some ways. There's a lot of advances that it has, but you also end up losing something there. So I think every language has its special thing. And one of the things is that it's actually kind of funny, because when you have someone trying to play, like basically, it's almost like trying to apply the way that you interpret Hebrew, but applying it to Greek in order to get the result that you want. And I mean, to be fair, you could argue that exists with Hebrew, but part of that is just the nature of the way that the language is structured. And like, you can shit on it for being, like essentially more focused on like very specific matters, which end up developing a spirituality around that, or you could focus on a system that has a word for everything. I think there's a lot of parallels to today. When you have a word for everything, when you can explain everything, it loses a certain magic to it. And given there was plenty of magic in the Greek world, but I do feel like also, when we talk about the Greek world as if it's one thing, but really, there's different eras. I know Graham is one of the biggest people who would, you have an evolution of different cultures in the Greek islands and in the mainland, and like, it's not just one succinct culture.
And here I thought the whole issue with, Hebrew versus Greek was that not enough piracy in Hebrew. Greek has a lot more pirates and piracy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Berashit arg, Elohim arg, et arg, Hashemayim arg.
I mean, the Jewish tradition, you only really have Noah as the only real pirate. Taking those animals from one place and taking them to another, sort of rustling them.
Oh,
that's about all you guys have. So
Hold on, I just realized it. It's not yo ho ho. It's oi oi oi. It's hoi oi
oi oi oi.
Hey, what's up, Usal?
Hey, real quick, awesome point, and I just wanted to hit it real quick. The idea of meaning in the transition, because we have the Benjamin so we can make any word we want, but it's in the transition and figuring out that pattern where the real meaning and the real nuance of Hebrew is in. And I think you said it without saying that. And it reminded me of jiu-jitsu, which is another one of my loves. So just wanted to throw that out there. I couldn't type it fast enough, but I don't even know if I'm with you guys or behind you guys, or you know what I mean, as far as the in the chat goes. So
yeah, right on point.
Yeah, you're on point. So thank you, brother.
Thanks. Yeah, you were also saying it's platonic, and that you were a minute behind, but yeah, you're like right on point. And then Rat King said, "This is one of the major ideas behind spiritual alchemy. The whole reason alchemists study nature is..." Biosol. is because the mysteries of God are locked away in nature. And it's interesting because, he was talking about in that video this idea of that the light is like locked away for the righteous, or this idea that like light is trapped in the material. Not that it's like some bad thing, but it's almost like the secret to uncover. I don't know. I really like that way of viewing it. So let's see.
Well, one way to look at that is everything living is dependent pretty much on the sun, and we're all in one way or another, basically, solidified starlight tag.
You're definitely right about that. Yeah. Wow. It's like that. Yeah. But it's also wild because I was talking about something very similar earlier, or not today, yesterday. Anyway, so let's see, where are we? So here. Vayomer Elohim, hine natati lachem et kol esev zorea zera asher al pnei kol haaretz ve'et kol ha'etz asher bo pri etz zorea zara lachem yehi leachla. So, and Elohim said, "Behold, I have given to you all the herb that has seed, all the seed sowing herb that has that is upon the face of the earth, that et kol ha'etz, and all the trees that have in its fruit, in the fruit of the tree, that have in it tree fruit, like fruit of the tree, has within it seed that has within it seed. The seed is free, will be for you. They shall. I don't know. It translates as that is upon all the earth, and every tree that has seed bearing fruit, they shall be yours for food. Literally for consumption. So this actually extends to cannabis as well. Funny enough. Let's see. Because the word achla, it means food, but it also means consumption, any form. But of course, it doesn't want me to. There. Food, eating, object of devouring or consuming. It doesn't have to be literal, like eating, digesting.
So that means technically plants can't be not kosher.
Sorry, what?
That means technically plants have to be kosher, right?
Right. The only drug that's not kosher that I can think of, I mean, I'm not, this isn't me, I got it from a lecture, but it's bufotenine. It's from the Bufalo alvarius toad. So and that's because toads aren't kosher. But technically it might fall under the exception of being like a byproduct because it's not actually the animal itself. I don't know. But not something I'm interested in trying. Let's see. Ulakol chayat haaretz, ulakol of hashamayim, ulakol romas al haaretz asher bo, nefesh chaya, et kol yarek esev leachla vayihiken. And to all the life of the earth and the flying ones of the heavens, and to the creeping ones of the earth that have within them a living soul. At kol yarek, all the like for them, all the green herb is for consumption. Vayihiken, and so. Vayira Elohim, and Elohim saw at kol asher asa, saw all that that Elohim had done. V'hine tov, and beheld that it was good. Tov meod, that it was very good. Vayhi erev, and then there was the evening. Vayhi boker, and there was a morning. Yom hashishi, the sixth day, and that's where we're ending off. So, I mean, realistically, I'm probably going to put this off until next Friday morning because I'm terrible like that. But no. So I'm going to end off in a few minutes. But I wanted to maybe like play a video that kind of touched on some of this, but do you have any thoughts? Graham? Wait, you there?
Yeah, I got a quick call I'm taking right now. Sorry about that.
Okay, no worries. I'll just put something on in the meantime. Let's see, what was I looking for? Yeah, here. Berashit. Let's see. Let's see. Trying to find one that's not ridiculously long. This might be good. The crown of the moon. Oh, wow. Oh, I wasn't sharing it, but wow, this, I didn't even realize this is recent.
Shalom, everybody. This class has been sponsored anonymously in memory of all those who have been killed in the past week, Al Kiddush Hashem, and all those who are sick and wounded and injured, all those who have been killed in the past week, Al Kiddush Hashem, and all those who are sick and wounded and injured and emotionally sick and traumatized, may all of them in the Zchut of Rabbi Nachman ben Fega and all the Church Tzaddikim and the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael have a complete refuah shlema. Just some insights in the Parsha of the week, Parshat Berashit, that could not go unnoticed. A very deep Rashi quotes a Gemara from 𤐁𐤓𤐿𝐷. On the fourth day of creation, that Hashem created the lights. It says at first, the big lights in plural, and then the verses go on to say on the fourth day, the great light to rule over the day, and the smaller light to rule over the night. So Rashi asked the question, wait a second, you just started the fourth day on the creation of the lights. You said the me'orot hagdolim in plural, the big lights. And then you say the big light during the day and the smaller light during the night, which is the sun and the moon. What's going on? So Rashi brings this Gemara from 𐤁𝐿𝐷. The moon complained to Hashem. The moon asked Hashem, is it possible that two kings can use the same crown? How could two kings use the same crown? One crown, two kings using the same. The king, the sun is a king, and the moon is like sovereignty over the night. Well, it's not yet the night. We're both being used day and night together consistently until Hashem told the moon, "You're right." Hashem said to the moon, "You're right. So go and diminish yourself, make yourself smaller." That was Hashem's command. The moon said, "Because I said something which made sense, I get punished." So Hashem said, "Okay, I'll console you. I will give you stars to console you." She was not consoled. The Jewish people will count their holidays and festivals based on the lunar cycle as opposed to the solar cycle. She was not consoled. Hashem said several things. Tzaddikim will be called after you. Shmuel HaKatan, David HaKatan. The moon was not consoled. And then Hashem said, okay, the Jews will have to give for me a sin offering. Haviu alai kapara al shemi ateti et hayareach. The Jews every Rosh Chodesh bring a sin offering. It's called Chatat L'Hashem, a sin offering for Hashem. And Rashi brings down on the Parsha in Parshat Pinchas, we are bringing an offering to atone for Hashem's, so to speak, Kivyachol sin offering for a sin that he diminished the moon. So Rav Nosson shows and explains that the deepest secrets of the Torah and creation are hidden in this discourse, in this little Gemara here. What we'd like to just tap into a few points. Number one, the moon, if she didn't ask anything, she would have stayed the same size, logically, right? The whole reason why the diminishment took place is because the moon asked. The moon asked a logical, rational question. Could it be that two kings can use the same crown? Hashem said, you're right. Now, what would happen if the moon did not ask anything? So most probably, mistama, it would have continued staying that way. Rabbi Nachman teaches in lesson 24, the whole idea of the Keter. In the Kabbalah, Keter corresponds to the gateway to the infinite light. The highest possible level of connection to Hashem. Higher than any level of the Torah. Where in that area, you don't ask questions. He says, Rabbi Nachman in lesson 24, that it's only with emunah that you can come to the Keter. Whereas in the four basic levels of the Torah, Pshat, Remez, Drash, Sod, you must ask questions. You should ask questions. That's how Torah works. You ask questions. Shakla, Vitaria, there's now give and take, a discussion. A stupid person just reads, okay, fine and dandy. But a smart person has questions. You can have the questions, put them on the side, wait for them to be answered. Or no, I'm not going on until they get answered. But in any event, there's always questions in the four levels of the Torah. But the realm of the Keter, no questions. She was punished because she asked a question. It's a good question. And Rabbi Nachman explains the Keter is beyond rationale. He says that when a person's chokhmah bin adat reach the Keter, they can't go through. They're bounced back. And the bouncing back causes a mumbling of the mind, creating what's called 9 chambers. 3 times 3, the chokhmah bin adat, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, become mumbled, intertwined. So that creates a multiplication of the 3. So it's 3 times 3, causing 9. And it's to show a person that to advance, there's no sechel here, there's no intellect. You're going to be pushed back. And it's like someone who the rug was just pulled from under his feet and he crashes and he has no idea what has hit him. That's the rationale of the Keter. So the moon showed that she wasn't ready for that level. She asked. So he asked the question. Hashem says, you have a good question. And there's no, he said, he tried to console him, no consolation. He said, okay, I did a sin offering. Hashem, why don't you just restore her to me back? No. Because for the Keter mentality, it requires no questions. If she would have not asked the question, the moon would have not been diminished. Okay? Something more powerful, Rav Nosson says, unbelievable. He says that the moon was diminished and it's Hashem's doing. And Hashem also regrets. He says, they should bring a sin offering for me. He said something very powerful based on Likutei Moharan part 2, lesson 1, and Rav Nosson's prayer on lesson 1, part 2, where he explains the lesson, Likutei Moharan part 2, lesson 1. He says that the Jewish people are compared to the moon. The waxing of the moon, which represents inconsistency in life. That things are not just, okay, everything is 1 + 1, everything is just advancing, and it's like a computer. Life is not like a computer in a structurized, robotic way of thinking. We as human beings have ups and downs, which parallel the moon. Rav Nosson says, he explains, that our ups and downs in life come from the diminishment of the moon. Which means, and this is scary to say, but Rav Nosson writes it down, that our ups and downs in life, which are the root for our falling off, for our sinning, for our blemishing, for our doing bad things, because we're ups and downs. We don't know how to handle them. Every Jew goes through ups and downs. Every person goes through ups and downs. And we justify our falling into addictions and ta'avot and lust and sinful actions and everything and wrong with thinking because we're not stable. We admit that we're not 100%. We're so many ups and downs and they're so hard to deal with. And it comes from the diminishing of the moon. So Rav Nosson writes that Hashem, it's your doing. It's crazy to say this, but he says it. Hashem, that I sin is your doing. He says, Rav Nosson, this is why Rav Nachman says this lesson, that lesson there, that this is our opening on Rosh Hashanah for hope. On the day of judgment, when we look at ourselves, we don't stand a chance. If Hashem were to be exactly meticulous upon us on every single detail, we'd be finished. What keeps us around?
Wow.
Is that Rosh Hashanah?
Any thoughts on this, Graham? Or are you still on the phone? I'm guessing still on the phone.
Is both the beginning of the cycle of the sun and the moon. And because it's also Rosh Chodesh, not just Rosh Hashanah, and Rosh Chodesh, even Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, which is Rosh Hashanah, has that Rosh Chodesh standard 12-month, right? Every monthly korban of the sin offering, Chatat Lashem, even on Rosh Hashanah, which is also Rosh Chodesh, which means on one hand, it's the day we're being judged. That's the Rosh Hashanah offerings and the Rosh Hashanah and the shofar, etc. But it's also Rosh Chodesh. And we're offering a sin offering for Hashem because he is asking for forgiveness, atonement, that he diminished the moon. And from the diminishment of the moon comes our sins. So in a sense, Hashem, we have an opening. On one hand, you judge us according to our deeds. We don't stand a chance. Our opening is that it's also Rosh Chodesh on Rosh Hashanah. And you yourself, Hashem, are asking for an atonement because you diminished the moon, which is where our ups and downs come from, which is how we sin. So therefore, we have an opening to talk to Hashem.
Yeah, it's also really interesting is the whole idea that, the moon has an effect on the tides. and because we are made up of, was it 70 or is it 80% of water, that it doesn't have an effect on us. I mean, even the term lunatic, it's derived from luna, from the moon. I don't know how much of a role it plays. I know there's some people who think that it like plays a huge role, but regardless of what role it plays, it's still interesting that they were thinking about this all the way back then. You know, before they necessarily knew this, like it was more so they believed it, but now we know certain things. So I don't know, it's interesting.
I'm flesh and blood. I have ups and downs paralleling the moon, which is waning. Like the Jewish people are called like the moon. We're named after the moon in a sense, okay? So because of that, we have an opening. So it's not stum, but it fits in the makeup of the creation that the moon had to ask that question and have the diminishment, and Hashem keeping that way, and he taking the blame upon himself. It's a sin offering for me. Why all this? To give an opening for the Jewish people.
That's cool.
Third insight, Rabbi Nachman says in many lessons, many places, especially Likutei Moran, lesson number 6, that the sun and the moon are compared to the tzaddik and the talmid. Bnei Moshe kifnei chama, bnei Yehoshua kipnei levana. Oy leota busha, oy leota chlima. The Gemara says the face of Moshe, the light emanating from his face was like the light of the sun, and the light of Joshua, his righteous 100%, what's the word in English? Dedicated student is compared to the moon. And still the Gemara says, woe to that embarrassment that Yeshua has before his teacher, his Rabbi Moshe Rabbeinu. But the point is, the Gemara, and it's a Midrash also, compares Moshe to the sun, the Rebbe, the Tzaddik, to the sun, and the student, Yeshua, the Talmid, to the moon. Okay? By the way, there's 2 terms to the sun, 2 terms to the moon. We have Chama and Shemesh, and Levana and Yareach. Okay? Chama and Levana is when the sun is at full force, and the moon is at full force when it's a full moon. And Shemesh is when we're trying to explain the role of the moon to serve. Shamash, it's serving the creation by shining light. If there was no sun, it would be just pitch darkness in this world. You wouldn't be able to see anything. So it's Shemesh. And called the Yareach, the moon is called Yareach when it's diminished, when it's small. When it's not a full moon, half a moon, third, a little bit, it's called Yareach, which is a term for pigima, a blemishment. Okay? So now it says here that the sun is the tzaddik, and the student is the idea of the moon. At the beginning of creation already, the concept of a tzaddik and a talmid was already initiated on the 4th day of creation, with the creation of the sun and the moon as the representation to a tzaddik and a talmid. But the whole rectification of the universe, of the world, is dependent on that Rebbe and Talmid association. If it wasn't for Yehoshua, there would be no continuation of Moshe Rabbeinu's work with the Jewish people to get them out of Egypt and bring them to Holy Land and to have them settled, and the continuation. If there was no Yehoshua, there would be nothing. If we want to go on, if there was no Rabbi Abba and Rabbi Elazar, the son and student of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, we would not have till today an exposure to tap into the depths of the Torah, which are a soothing connection to the Torah that gives meaning and hope. No matter what a person can go through, that's the idea of the secrets of the Kabbalah. And Arizal went further into the Kabbalah, bringing it down more and more. If it wasn't for his student, Rav Chaim Vital, the student of the Arizal, Rav Yitzchak was the Arizal, sorry. So there'd be no Kabbalah also, which would help people tap into the depths of the Torah to give them a soothing connection to the Torah, no matter what we're going through in exile. And also, Rabbi Nachman said to Rav Nosson, "Du bist meine Yehoshua. You are my Yehoshua." He said, "You're like my Yehoshua, Moshe Rabbeinu Yehoshua. You are my student." And we know today, Rabbi Nachman said, if it wasn't for Rav Nosson, not even a page of Rabbi Nachman's teachings, not even a page of 𝐤𐤓𐤀🐷 would have been left from Breslov. It would be just some like outdated, archaic Hasidic movement from the Eastern Ukraine in the 1800s and just disappeared off the map. The reason why it's continuing today, full force, like crazy, like never before, is thanks to Rav Nosson. Okay? And the idea of the sun and the moon, the initiation of creation, was meant to show that there should be a proper relationship between Rebbe and Talmid. There was a blemish already from the beginning of creation, and that the student asked the son, how could 2 use the same crown? If there's no rationale, it was expected of the moon to have full emunah, no questions. This is what Hashem wants. It doesn't make sense. I'm not going to ask anything. The whole world has to get back to that scenario that the sun and the moon will be equal. But even then, it says, "V'haya or hachama or levana ke'or hachama ve'or yekeshivatayim." It says the verse says that the light of the sun will become like this. The light of the moon will become like the light of the sun, and the light of the sun will be 7 times of what it is, 7 times more. So the sun will always now be on top, but the goal is to get the light of the moon to equal the light of the sun. It's the idea of Talmidim having full emunah without sechel, just emunah in the tzaddikim, and believe it or not, this is the secret to rectifying the creation. It sounds pretty heavy, but that's what Rav Nosson explains. So in short, the Keter is a domain where no questions are asked. You just have to go through and accept of Emunah. If not, then you're not ready for it. You get bounced back. And on one hand, it's a benefit that there is a setback to the moon, because that's where there's room for our sins and our blemishes and our setbacks to take place from the diminishing of the moon. So we have an opening to always ask Hashem to help us, because we can say, but you Hashem, you're the one who was responsible. You're responsible. It's crazy to say, but you'll see Rav Noson's language in his prayer. He says it clearly. And also third, the goal of the Rebbe, the Talmud, is the key for the bringing Mashiach, which also explains how Rav Noson, as a Talmud, trying to bring Rabbi Nachman's fire out. And he said, Rabbi Nachman said, my fire will burn until Mashiach comes. And Rav Nosson was determined to make that fire to shine. It's no wonder Rav Nosson suffered unbelievable persecution and opposition, worse than anything you can imagine. And he passed through that. All that he went through because he wanted to spread Rabbi Nachman's light. We should be zochet to have the light and the moon shine in our lifetime and see the coming Mashiach. Amen. Amen.
Amen. You still there, Graham?
Yeah, I'm back.
So, what are your thoughts on that? The idea that, like, can two share the same crown, and because of that, the moon was diminished?
I don't know if I definitely side 100% on that take. There's something to that. And again, I go with it's a question of balance. And the idea that one of them needs to rule the other, I think, is kind of, is a misgiven one.
No, that's not necessarily what it is. It's more so one succeeds and the other proceeds. But it's also like an Ouroboros, because with the moon and the sun, what they each follow each other and they each succeed each other.
Yeah, one of the things that jumped out at me when he was talking is, again, the curiosity about the connections between Sin, the Mesopotamian moon god, and Yahweh, where there are a lot of parallels between the two, and there's a lot of tradition to say there's at least some linkage there. And that was kind of jumping out there too, so tag.
It's also kind of an interesting synchronicity that, the Sin is connected with the moon, and then Sin is the Mesopotamian moon god.
No, agreed. And also then you have the sin offering. So yeah, no, it's all who knows how connected it is at this point, but it's definitely an intriguing concept. Tag.
Also, if you think about it, the sun is usually seen as like the right hand, whereas the moon is usually like the left hand. And with that, Sin is left, whereas, like sinister means left hand, right?
No, makes sense. And that would also, you could draw parallels between that and the direction you're doing the writing, the language in. Tag.
Yeah, anyway, we could talk about this for hours, but I do need to get a few hours of sleep because I have an appointment and not too long, and then I have some stuff tonight. But we'll catch up later, and I'm going to be streaming more frequently because I realized I had been spending all this money on StreamYard. I'm like, well, I haven't done any streams, so I kind of feel like I better do something or cancel it. I'm like, well, I don't want to cancel it, so might as well just start streaming again. Oh, but yeah, on that note, oh shoot, what did I just do? Please tell me I didn't just. Oh no. Oh, I thought I closed out the whole thing. Anyway, let's see what I did want to find. What was it? Oh, I forgot to say the prayer after I finished reading the Torah. Where was it? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. And that was all right. Yeah, on that now. Let's see. Oh, this is a good song. So, I mean, I was trying to find like proper lyrics for this, but it's really hard to find good lyrics for this because it's an English song translated into Hebrew. And then the thing is that there's multiple translations, so there's multiple lyrics, and so I can't find it for it. But anyway, I just feel like the song's very fitting.
כשזה קרה הייתי הפוכה, לא חשבתי שאוכל לחיות לא לצידך, אבל לילות חסרי שינה עושים הרבה מקום לחשוב. הבנתי אז כמה עשית לי לא טוב. הנה עכשיו אתה חוזר, מוזמן לומר לי על מחר שאתה כל כך תצטער. לא חיכיתי בשתיקה ולא הגשמת לי חלום, את הצ'אנס שלך פספסת כשאמרת לי שלום. אז תעזור ואל תחזור, תשאיר הפעם גם את המפתח מאחור. מה כבר חשבת שיקרה שבלב שאשתגע, שעולמי יתהפך מצחיק מאוד, אני אשרוד. אם לא הבנת עד עכשיו, בוא אגלה לך את הסוד, מה שכבר מאחוריי והחיים עוד לפניי, אני אשרוד. אז יאללה ביי. פחות כואב, בכל יום תפרתי עוד פיסת חמאה בלב. הביטחון המעורער, הרחמים העצמיים הם הוחלפו בראש רוח העננים. אז תסתכל עליו היטב, זה הפרצוף שלו החזיר לך מבט אוהב. חשבת שזה בערך ואתה רק צריך לבחור, האהבה שלי מושמרת לבחור הבא בתור. אז תעזור ואל תחזור, תשאיר הפעם גם את המפתח מאחור. מה שכבר מאחוריי והחיים עוד לפניי, אני אשרוד. אז יאללה ביי.
I mean, it's a good song, but I do also want to leave on an even happier note. So there's this one song, was it Shir Sameach? Literally a happy song. Where was it here? Yeah. And if you want to play a lyric, just comment in the chat, or not just random comments, and I'll הלילה יש לסבוח, הלילה יגאל כל מי שנשמה בו, כל איש לישראל ניצוץ של נחמה בו, ניצוץ של נחמה בו.
You still there, Ariel?
Well, that's embarrassing. I was just talking to myself. No, so these are some good organizations. I mean, given you want to double check before you send anybody anywhere, just so you know where it's going and what it's going to. But it's a good article if you want to check. If y'all want to check this out, if y'all ever feel like helping out with financially. I mean, I think the biggest thing is to educate yourself on what's going on, on both sides, because it's a really tough conflict. But at the end of the day, what's happening now is just a human tragedy in general. But anyway, on that note, we do need to finish off. Yeah, have a great day, everyone, and Shabbat Shalom.
Yep. Thanks again, Ariel. It was fun.
Want to tell the Rebbe the words of the new song that we're singing with Mashiach, right? So I'm just going to read them. Am Yisrael, have no fear. Mashiach will be here this year. We want Mashiach now. We don't want to wait. Okay? Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now. Oh yeah, Am Yisrael, have no fear, Mashiach will be this year. Am Yisrael, have no fear, Mashiach will be here this year.